This is Phone Booth Fighting, your twice-weekly mixed martial arts podcast destination, featuring that guy. Who are you?
Frank Mir.
And this guy. Who am I?
Richard Hunter.
And together we do this podcast from stately Mir Manor here in suburban Las Vegas. You can get the podcast in iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, or wherever podcasts are available, including phoneboothfighting.com, our official website. All previously aired and archived episodes are available right there for your enjoyment. All right, Frank, we'll get to a whole bunch of other stuff momentarily, but we're kicking this thing off tonight with big Frank Mir fight news announcement. Take it away. What's up? What's happening?
Yeah, actually, I'll be part of the 8-man tournament that's been announced by Bellator. I got the word just last night or the night before. I got the phone call to say, hey, you know, we need a headshot. We're putting you in this. And so I obviously agreed. They told me the names that were in there, and it looks like I'd probably be lining up with Fedor hopefully in April.
That is unbelievable. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'd congratulate you on any fight, but the fact that you're finally getting Fedor.
Yeah, that's a huge moment. And it's actually, I didn't even sleep that night thinking about it, running it through my mind, watching videos, already starting to try to, you know, picking apart his different, you know, traits and game plans. And today I went to the gym with Angelo. He's telling me what he sees. I'm telling what I see. Mm-hmm. You know, really, you know, it's actually been helpful doing commentating this whole time for the ACB because it really has me sharp as far as analyzing people's tendencies and strategies. But then I even told the wife, I'm like, you know, what if I take off for 8 to 10 weeks and I go to Chechnya or something, you know, Grozny, go to a training camp and really just, you know, take this as serious as I've ever taken any fight of in my life.
Yeah, just like Rocky IV.
Yeah, just go up to the mountain.
Grow the beard.
Yeah.
The KGB.
My pathetic excuse for a beard.
The KGB is following you in the snow.
That's right.
You're carrying the log through the forest.
A log carry. I don't know about running through the snow that fast.
So, I mean, because... And we should explain, if you haven't already heard the news today, Bellator has a vacant heavyweight title. We've known that for some time. They signed Frank a couple months back. We talked about that here on Phone Booth Fighting. And all signs were pointing toward, you know, some type of tournament or process of eliminator fights for that title because they were signing not only you but some other top tier heavyweight competition like Matt Mitrione. He's a recent signing. Roy Nelson is another recent signing, and so it made a lot of sense. And today the tournament was officially announced. Now here's the interesting thing: it's an 8-man tournament. There are 4 natural heavyweights in it: yourself, Roy Big Country Nelson, Matt Mitrione, and Fedor Emelianenko. And then there's 4 other guys who are moving up in weight. Mm-hmm. They're all big names. This thing has massive star power to it. But the other 4 are going to be light heavyweights in the Bellator organization, moving up to heavyweight for the fight. We're talking about their light heavyweight champion, Ryan Bader,
right.
King Mo Lawal, Rampage Jackson, who just signed a new multi-fight deal with Bellator, and friend of the Phone Booth Fighting podcast, the American gangster Chael Sonnen.
Yep.
That just made this very interesting. So that's, I mean, I guess what they're going to do, and your match with Fedor is the only one I've gotten any intel on through you, so I don't know about the other matchups. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I would assume that maybe what they would do is have like a heavyweight bracket and a light heavyweight bracket to start. You think, or you think they'll mix and match?
I don't know.
It's all just speculation on our part at this point, but...
Yeah, I really don't know how they're going to position that off. That actually probably makes the most sense, because that way you can get guys a little bit closer in weight together and a little bit more of an I really don't know. And so that way you don't have a clean sweep of all the light heavyweights. And really, honestly, I mean, the light heavyweights that are in this, you know, Quentin Jackson walks around at 240 pounds. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of them might even be bigger than Fedor by the time the night comes around and fight. Because, you know, Fedor fights around 225, 230.
Yeah.
So he's not a huge heavyweight, never has been. In fact, he made 205 one time to fight Dan Henderson in Strikeforce.
Yeah, that's right. So I wonder if I think it was very smart that they went ahead and made the fight with you and Fedor first? Because, some would say, well, why do you have to, burn that one right away?
Well,
but then
best opportunity that we're going to fight each other.
Exactly, because otherwise you're going to have to count on both guys winning and advancing in the brackets and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like, with all due respect to the other fighters in the tournament, there's nobody else in there who, has a resume like yours in the heavyweight division where you can just look down it and go, okay, you fought every one of the greats except. Right. And there was always that one exception, that one big omission of Fedor Emelianenko, because he never fought inside the UFC. This is going to be the first time, other than your pro debut, that you've ever fought outside of the UFC. So it's just never been possible before.
No, there was always so many times I heard, it's going to happen. Fedor, they're going to sign Fedor. He's asking for this. They're going to go ahead and give it to him. But I guess the deal breaker always, from what I remember, and I could be wrong, back when he first ended up going to Strikeforce and not coming over to the UFC, when the rumors were strong that the UFC was going to acquire him, was that his company, his management team that he works with, and probably his too, I'm sure he has a great, control over, wanted co-promoting type of, rights to it. And that's just the UFC at the time, was never going to concede that. Not, times have changed. Now it looks like they're going to have to with, Conor. But at the time, they didn't see the, didn't really see the draw or the necessity of relinquishing that. And so that's why it never was never became true until now. And so it'd be interesting to see us now finally be able to face off. And you're right. At first, that was my first thought too, honestly. I was like, oh, we're going to fight each other. Wow, right off the bat, the two of us, possibly lined up together. Why wouldn't you spread us out? Maybe, it'd be interesting to walk through the bracket. But I'm like, well, fight's a fight, man. Now you have to worry about both guys having to come through, not just one guy succeeding. So you're right. The most bang for your buck that guarantees that we're going to actually face off is the opening round.
So this fight is going to be without a firm date set. The idea is sometime in April.
Yep.
Okay. And of course, your agreement with the release of the UFC really didn't allow you to fight until that point anyway. Right. So it's not like it could be done any sooner. But you will be able, I would assume, to go ahead and start. Well, we're promoting the fight now. We're announcing the news, breaking the news here on Phone Booth Fighting. But I assume you'll be able to go ahead and start promoting this on behalf of Bellator.
Yeah. In fact, actually, on Monday I'll be flying out there for PR stuff. So hopefully Tuesday, I think they even said in the thing that Jennifer was reading me today, or a PR meeting, so we'll find out.
Okay, very cool. So that's happening. That'll be in April. Now, another question is, could this possibly be on pay-per-view?
Yeah, that's actually something that's been brought up a lot today, and I didn't know. Everybody's like, oh, this is such a big fight that have to put it on pay-per-view, and I'm like, well, I mean, they had Chael and Tito on free television, as far as I remember, right?
Right, but they had Chael and Vanderlei on pay-per-view. Oh, that one recently happened, and that also had Fedor and Matt Mitrione on it. I think it was more. The fact that Bellator had, they've only tried pay-per-view a couple of times, and I think it was this more recent time when they did it with Chael and Vanderlei. I don't even remember the actual final numbers that thing did, but I knew at that point they were going to experiment periodically with doing pay-per-view, not monthly like UFC does or anything like that, but that they were going to experiment with periodically doing it. It seems like with this, they could do it. I think you and Fedor could carry a main event on a pay-per-view. I think some of the other matchups could. I think certainly the finals could. Once you get this whole thing pared down, a lot of people, were feeling a little nostalgic about Pride today because, Bellator is calling it their Grand Prix, and a lot of people were remembering the old Pride Grand Prix tournament.
Where they had light heavyweights stepping in there.
That's true. They did. They sure did. So, I'm so excited that this is like I said, on multiple levels. I'm happy you get to fight again, but it seems like it's just exponentially better that we're going to finally see you match up with Fedor for your Bellator debut.
Yeah, right off the bat, hit the ground running, huh?
Yeah, that is super exciting. I know they're going to have you know, we should go out and do. I'm just going to produce on the air here for a minute, but we should go out and do a live podcast in LA in January when they're going to have a fight card out there. I think January 20th, something like that. Okay. Somewhere right around there. We had to go out and do a live show. I'm sure they're going to want you to do promotion and stuff anyway. And,
yeah.
We got to get Chael back on the show to talk about this. He'll probably go ahead and start talking about when he and you fight. Yeah. You know, he'll just jump ahead.
Hopefully it's in the finals.
Yeah. He'll just jump ahead to whatever else is going on. Well, that'd be fun too, because you guys were supposed to do ACB and then the scheduling didn't match up because you had
ACB.
I'm sorry, I said ACB, Abu Dhabi, and then there was scheduling conflicts with you were working commentary on ACB and all that. So it would be cool to would be really cool to see. Well, I'm excited for this. I think excited for you and excited for the promotion. You know, Bellator is doing a lot of right things right now. I think, you know. And
a little bit of luck their favor.
Luck?
No, I mean, I was just making preluding to later in the show. We're talking about Conor. But
we're got to get into that here in a minute. In fact, we've got it pulled up on the big screen. We're gonna play what happened with Conor McGregor.
I do like it. Bellator does feel like the old Pride.
Yeah, and
how they're just, you know, instead of really worrying about who matches up with who, and it's just putting in fights that people are interested in watching. And I think that's what Pride always had going for it, was always interesting matchups.
You know, here's what I think in incrementally they did right. I mean, they started out with some, you know, really world-class talent, but just for whatever reasons, names that not everybody knew. You know, guys like Michael Chandler that they were growing, that are still there, that are awesome fighters. And then, you know, they added some past their prime fighters that, you know, people kind of snickered at it a little bit, but those guys brought ratings, you know, Ken Shamrock and Royce Gracie and stuff. And now they've split the difference and they've hit the sweet spot with guys who are not past their prime. They're marquee free agents that finally came available. But it took a while. I mean, I don't think Bellator could have lured a Rory McDonald, a Matt Mitrione, a Frank Mir. I don't think Bellator could have lured some of those names 4 years ago. The promotion wasn't really ready yet, you know. And I think a big part of it has to do with Scott Coker being involved too, you know, because he got over there, he took that job, and he's taken his time really setting the stage. So, you know, probably what you're going to get on a night like the one you're going to fight on is you're going to get this marquee matchup between a couple of legends. You're probably going to see some of their homegrown talent like Michael Chandler, you know, the Pitbull brothers, some of those guys.
They're always good at layering it.
Yeah, and so there will be something for everybody because you know, let's face it. I mean, the brass ring to measure your competition against is still the UFC, which is the biggest show. But what made the UFC so successful over the years, in my opinion, was always being more about the show than the individual fight. They were always so smart that to put on a you know, quality matches across the card, so that even though you may have come for one marquee match, you walked away going, boy, that and that were highlights of the night. And I think Bellator's really positioned themselves now to be able to do that kind of thing.
No, I agree with you. And I really like so far, I mean, dealing with Bellator guys, it reminds me of when I first got in the UFC as far as how it's not so corporate, you know, not that they don't have that entity to them as far as, you know, once you go higher up in the organization, as far as, you know, dealing with, you know, Viacom or whatever.
Okay.
But as far as the Bellator guys, from Scott to, you know, to Mike and the other guys that work there, everybody's just phone call basis, easygoing. You know, everything's like, hey, can we get this done? We understand it's, you know, even as far as when I got asked the question, the opening statement was, I realize this is really last minute, but we need this and this. Can you help us out? Yeah, no problem. You know, just that kind of consideration, even in conversation, is just, it feels, you know, it's fresh and it's nice again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So excited. I'm excited and I don't have to fight. So it's like a win-win. See, I'm excited and you do the work.
Well, it's not work if you like it.
Yeah, well, you can entertain me. I'll just sit in the background and go, woo, go, harder. Keep your hands. I was watching I ought to do that to you. I ought to get close enough to your corner that I can yell the real basic instructions of the casual fan. I was watching a fight where just a clip somebody shot with their phone today, but I could hear it in the background. Somebody going, hands up, knee.
Yeah.
All the basic instructions.
Which is still sometimes a little bit better than some that I've heard.
Well, that's true. That's true. My goal is to yell that stuff loud enough that it gets picked up on the mic. All right.
We can always mic you if you want. You
That
know,
would be
one
fun.
wears a mic.
Yeah. Hey, you know what we should do? We should invent, so now is the time, we should invent some sort of real bizarre narrative about how you've gone new age. And, like how Connor had the movement coach and all that. You brought in like a spirituality coach or something like that. I can get an outfit together like a
Dalai Lama type.
Yeah, like a shroud I wear and stuff like that. Remember when Fedor used to have that weird guy that walked out with him?
Yeah.
Who was some kind of priest or something?
Yeah, his Orthodox.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But he just looked, to us, he looked like an old hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be that guy. Maybe Fedor could bring that guy back, and then that guy and I could face off.
No, but you'd have to be like, I'd bring you in, you have to, carry like the God delusion with you or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's how we'd get in their head. I would get them to see if I can get them to start questioning the basis of their own faith. Yeah. All right.
You know the story about him and his crucifix and gambling, right?
No.
So I'm sitting there and we're all having conversations. I'm like, Fedor, I thought I heard him say that he's not supposed to gamble. Like, well, he'll gamble or he'll play cards before his fight. So sometimes you see him in the back and he's playing cards to help, relax and stay calm. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something about, he goes, yeah, no, it is. That's why he takes his crucifix off.
Oh, that's what you do?
I'm like, what?
Oh,
yeah, he takes the crucifix off. So that way, he can play out of sight. I'm like, that's all it took for God not to see him?
I think I've heard another version of this, but it's where somebody goes, no, that's why I take my wedding ring off. See, that's why I just take it. Yeah. Well, that's why
I'm sure you hear that version a lot at the brothel.
All right. Well, stay tuned to Phone Booth Fighting.
That's why Mrs. Mir had me tattoo mine on. God damn it. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm tattooed.
Well, hopefully Mrs. Emelianenko isn't listening to Phone Booth Fighting, or he's going to show up with a crucifix tattooed right on his sternum. All right, well, stay tuned to Phone Booth Fighting because as details develop, we'll break it all here and we'll tell you what's happening, give you the actual fight date and different things that Frank will be doing around the fight. Location will be important. Exactly.
Everybody keeps asking me, like, so where's it at? Exactly. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. You'll hear it here first on Phone Booth Fighting.